welcome back, listeners, to the Mindful Living podcast with your host, Sana. In this conversation today, we are going to dive deep into the fascinating world of transformation, fulfillment, and redefining success with our incredible guest, Dr. Daniel Zeiss. Listeners, Dr. Zeiss is not just a medical doctor and psychotherapist, he's also a transformation expert and a personal growth pioneer. As the founder of the Peak Growth Center in Orlando, Florida, he's helped high achieving professionals around the globe move beyond the confines of traditional success to discover their authentic, purposeful, and truly fulfilled lives. So, everyone, get ready to explore how breaking through success barriers can open doors to life of deeper meaning and harmony, both personally and professionally. So, buckle up for an enlightening and inspiring conversation on the Mindful Living podcast. So, Dr. Daniel, welcome to the show. And as always, it's an absolute honor to have you with us today.
Well, Sana, it's a great honor to be with you and talk to you about topics that really touch you listeners. And let's see what you got as question.
Great. So, of course, Dr. Zeiss, before we move to the topic, there's always a personal journey which kind of, first of all, gives a reality check and the direction to achieve, your true fulfillment or you understand your purpose. So, I'm very sure from being a medical doctor to now becoming a transformation expert for high achieving professionals, there has to be a story behind that. So, can you share that with our listeners?
Well, of course, I love to share my story, and perhaps that's an inspiration for somebody who finds him or herself in a similar situation, like perhaps I did after studying, well, after high school and then studying, graduating, studying. I thought I knew it all basically. Okay, I studied medicine, I had the degree in my pocket, and I started working, and then work life started, 9 to 5 or 8 to 5. For doctors, more 8 to 8, and somehow we never finished our work. There were always more patients, and the question was, of course, were able to help one patient, and then there were some others lined up, and it was really, really exhausting. And trying to find, like, catching a breath was in that first profession I had very, very, very difficult. Okay, it wasn't like there's something missing. You do as a doctor, you read books, you start reading books, and then you get better in what you're doing. Okay, so started to become more professional in my field. I saw better results with the patients, but still there was something still not completely round. Well, it happened that on my path during these days, I had to work in an international project, and I learned that other people have the same, and it impacted the growth of the project. And of course, back to square one, back to looking at why does that all happen, and why am I also myself not happy but frustrated even with the progress. So, in that project, in comparison to regular medical work with patients, we had some progress in like steps. We were building a software that would help people, but still something was missing. So I learned at that stage that there are markers for success that other people give you. Okay, there's a patient and he is sick and he has pain or needs an operation, and well, we can help that patient, and that patient is grateful, and you feel happy that you achieved your job, but still, there's still something inside of you not 100% satisfied. That's when I basically dug deeper, and I learned that there are not only these things that you learn in university that count. Okay, like all the skills and the techniques and the operation techniques and the medication plans you administer. but that there's something inside of you, that event sometimes drives you forward, that drives you to work harder, work smarter, and achieve more, get ahead in your career. But sometimes it can drive you too much. And then everybody has heard of that there's like burnout or depression just around the corner for successful people. And I was in that situation as well, because I was looking for that gap to fill. So in poetry would say there's a hole in the heart, perhaps. And it sometimes feels this way. And interestingly, there were other people's whose path I crossed who already learned about that. They didn't have that connection to medicine yet, but they had some other ideas. And then we discussed, and I started reading up on what we knew in medicine. And then I basically ended up entering the field of psychotherapy, trying to understand what so many people before me wrote in books and wrote about the psyche and the neurophysiology. And out of all that experience, and I think that's a really important part, and knowledge, I created the Transformation Year program and basically the Peak Growth Center now in Orlando, to help people to not have to invent or try to find it on their own, like how I did it, but to just go and use that knowledge and to speed up that process and to inner fulfillment and revitalizing your life.
Wow. Wow. And everyone's journey is unique, as we all know, but the basics are same. You get onto your life. There is a particular framework you have to follow. You get your school done, college, then job, get married, have a family. But these are all what others have told us. What exactly someone wants is completely personal to them. And when that is not there, then of course, as you beautifully said, that there's a gap that we feel, a hole in our heart. So that's a very, very beautiful journey, Dr. Daniel, and really appreciate for sharing this with all of us. So similar to what you told, many people, they feel stuck despite their accomplishments. So how can we break free from that feeling, or instead of avoiding to feel that feeling, how we can actually embrace it and use it for our personal growth?
It's a beautiful question, Sana, and you almost answered it at the first part, because you said we're avoiding it, and to stop avoiding is scary. That is so scary, because that is what we've learned. Okay, we learned to, okay, there's something I have to power through. Okay, and it will go away eventually. And these are the phrases that most people use when they feel something they can't explain. But that is not necessarily the best strategy in that situation. Of course, it is something which you have in hand, and in the early years, when you're in your 20s, in your 30s, that usually works. Wow, but still, already for some people, these strategies start to fail. But when you're in your 40s and 50s and 60s, that definitely doesn't work anymore, because you're missing all that power, that energy that a 20 or 30-year-old person has to power through your emotions and just put them left and right and swipe them under the rug. So the first step actually is to understand, hey, I have an emotion. What do I do with it? We'll talk about that later. But first of all, just acknowledge that you have that you feel anxious about that project, that you feel angry towards that coworker, that you feel powerless about the decision that management did. If you have that emotion, that's like a smoke alarm, okay? Usually it's not advisable to ignore a smoke alarm. You wouldn't do that, right? So don't ignore your emotions. They tell you something about yourself. They tell you something about your system and what's going on inside of you. That guy who starts to ride a long book about one emotion and all that drama and so on. No, but it's like really, it's an information. It's raw data that your body tells you there is something happening inside of you, and you better watch out because it's like a smoke alarm. It's important. Okay. Of course, you can ignore a smoke alarm. And many times it's just triggered by accident or somebody smoking outside and the smoke will go away. Nothing happens. But what if really there's a fire in the house and you ignored it? That might have been a bad idea. And the same thing is true for your emotions. If you continuously ignore them and avoid them, then basically you are running in circles. Okay. You're getting back to the first thing because you don't understand what's happening to you. Now, when you achieve that okay, I'm not ignoring it, there's something, but what do I do? Then the next step is to acknowledge that this emotion, what you're feeling, is not here to sabotage you or to hurt you. There are people out there who tell you there's something like self-sabotage.
Yep.
Is very, very, very destructive, because why should the body, the vessel that helps you live and achieve all these great things that you're doing in your work, in your business, why should that body have an interest in torturing you? That doesn't make sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Almost every part of your body has a meaning. Okay. I'm not 100% sure about the hair. The eyebrows, they prevent the sweat from dripping into your eyes. And you can go through all of the parts of your body that have a meaning. So why should the body have an interest in hurting you? That's a complete different concept from what's out there in the world. But this concept is something in accepting what is. And with acceptance, you're not closing your eyes, but you actually are able to change something. Just if you see what the problem, that there's a problem, you can fix it. And that is what basically we are talking about right now. Just trying to first not avoid and trying to understand that this emotion is telling you something.
Definitely. As you mentioned about the role of eyebrows, if we clearly look at each of our body part, so we have our tongue, then the teeth, and then lips. So it's symbolically, this my father used to say in my childhood, that symbolically it means that before you say anything, think twice. God has given you teeth and lips to, keep a gateway before you even speak out for something. So that's a very beautiful, symbolism we can learn from our own body, actually, from the beautiful creation of God. So that's a great example you quoted, Dr. Daniel. Okay, so your Peak Growth Center, it focuses on both therapeutic and cutting edge coaching approaches. So can you explain how this unique methodology helps clients achieve lasting transformation?
Of course, with pleasure, Sana. So with that, what I've said before, with not being in a battle with yourself, you're opening up many possibilities. And what you're actually going to learn is how to use these possibilities. You're going to learn more concepts like the one that I just presented, to understand, to have a model about how your body and how your psyche work on that extended level that you usually do not talk about during your college years, during your university years, or professional years. So you get guides on how to analyze and how to understand what you are feeling. And then we're teaching you tools on how to work with those emotions. What's the goal? Well, the goal is to have very, very, very happy, satisfied life. You're not running around like always high, like you're on drugs. No, that's not good, because the body cannot sustain such a high, emotional high life. If somebody wants to tell you and sell you something like this, that is usually for the body not possible to run around always incredibly happy. More, it's like a very balanced, very gentle, very, very mindful way of living. So you're starting to see many more things. You're starting to understand many more things. The more you work with yourself, the work your emotions, there's more clarity. And that's why we call it, that's basically a revitalization of your life. what you achieve with this. And there are techniques. So when you feel anxious, you know what to do. When you feel very angry towards your coworker, you learn to understand what that anger actually means about yourself and about him or her. And then you learn how to deal and change yourself so that the next time you're going to meet that coworker, you're not angry anymore. You're actually looking at that person and you're saying, interesting. Now I understand why that person did what he or she did. And with that clarity, of course, your business decisions get much more better, which results in a bigger professional growth.
Well, true, true. Also, Dr. Danley, when we uh, talk about, success, we say it often comes at the cost of personal fulfillment. So, what strategies do you use to help high achievers, find that harmony in their professional and personal lives as well? Because, nowadays, although we often talk about work-life balance, but, somewhere down the line, I think work-life harmony is more of a sustainable and understandable concept to think about.
Yes, definitely. So there are basically two ways of seeing this. One thing you're running away from, that's an external motivation. When you're running away from something, you are using a lot of resources to run away, to be in fight or flight mode, which can make you very successful. It can make you very, very successful because you're working long hours, you're beating your competition, and that gives you career growth. But it comes to the expense of private time, family life, and actually your own energy reserves. So when we talk to somebody who says, "Okay, I'm almost burned out. I learned I have all these symptoms," we first try to understand how that person feels, thinks, and reacts towards certain stimuli. And then when we understand this, we tell him, we let that person understand, we give him a model of how to understand his own actions and behaviors. And with that, there's already a first step of change, because now that person can reflect on their actions and now better understand why they're doing certain things. The second step is that we look at these blockages, why they are using the running away motivation and not the towards something, the I want to experience, that's motivation. And that's something sometimes very subtle, okay? I can always say, I want to run away from the fire because I want to be safe. But what was first? Okay, was it first the fire or first the getting rid of being outside? So and these are basically when we have a towards motivation and internal motivation, the body basically has a way of fueling itself with a lot of energy. So you can be really successful with that. But many people have learned from school, from their universities, that the running away is faster acting. And that is true. Okay, so we can very quickly create fear and then use that to run away. Okay, I don't want to lose my job, so you have to do this immediately. You immediately get action. But when you have to think about what do I want to achieve, then you have to think about longer. What are my values? What are my goals in life?
Mm.
And that takes longer. Okay, but all great entrepreneurs who made it big in the industry, you can look it up on the websites of their companies. They always have a vision, and that vision is towards motivation. And that's basically one of the biggest changes that people experience, that they now run towards something.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Also, Dr. Zeiss, you have worked internationally, blending European and American perspectives on personal growth. So how do cultural dynamics influence the way we approach transformation?
Wow, that is a deep question, Sana. That is amazing. It big time. Okay, so there's the culture is basically one of the first layers of translation for us to understand what somebody else is saying. Of course, we speak English now, but we are using words that you and I interpret perhaps differently, and our listeners might interpret differently. And so we have to be very conscious about these difference in cultures, trying to understand the other side. And that is one of the big things that help you also in business. If you can be that empathic to the other side and don't need to defend or yourself and try to protect yourself, but if you can be open and understand the other side, business makes much more sense, because we're always looking for something where we can help the other one so that we can get into business, right? But if I say, no, I'm not, it's too dangerous to get close to my clients because they might be hurting me, then of course I'm very withdrawn, and I can't really understand what that person is feeling and thinking, what his pure business needs are. And so with culture, it's exactly this. I have to have that understanding of the level of that other person. So yeah, I can be on the same level of understanding. And but the interesting thing is, once you have that connection, once you gain that trust, and you establish that, yeah, I might something which might be offending towards your culture, and you might say the same towards my culture. So let's try to be very, very open and accepting with that. And usually after having that connection, that works perfectly. Okay. And then you can just work through and just look at, when you're empathic, how that other person reacts. When you propose something, they look how you react when they propose something. And then we get into this mutual agreement, which usually creates these win-win situations for lasting success.
Mhm. Wow. So, Dr. Daniel, before we wrap up, for listeners who feel they are on the verge of burnout or stuck in life transitions, um, what's one actionable step they can take today to start their journey toward fulfillment?
Yes, that's a very useful thing. Thank you. That's very useful, Sana, the question. And first of all, so if you think you are stuck in burnout, or you acquired burnout situation, you actually have. Yeah. Please don't test around and run with this test. When you feel this burned out situation, there's no more energy, you can't motivate yourself for doing something, then this is actually time to look into this. And well, you can go to your local psychotherapist, which I always recommend when you have like really bad thoughts. But when you're like, no, it's just starting, I want to be very proactive about it, then the first thing is, try to be accepting to yourself. Try to understand that you are, for whatever reason, and don't blame yourself for that, for whatever reason, for whatever path you picked in the past, you're in that situation, and there is a way out. And now, if you accept that situation, say, okay, I need to do something about it. Nobody else is taking care of me anymore. I'm a grown adult. There's no mommy and daddy saying, hey, you have to stop doing what you're doing. No, it's your job. You're an adult now. Now take that step, go into acceptance and say, okay, I have a situation that is like burnout, and now I'm taking care of myself. And then the next steps come very, very natural to you.
Of course. Also, Dr. Daniel, if our listeners, they wish to reach out to you and explore more about the growth center and the work you are doing, how they can do that.
Yes. So just come and visit my website, peakgrowth.center, and there's a contact us button. Just click, write us a small message, and we'll get back to you and then see what we can do for you.
Lovely, lovely. Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Daniel, for this incredible conversation we have had, from redefining success to uncovering our true potential. You have helped us with some much needed wisdom and actionable insights. So thank you so much.
Sana, thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you. And yes, have a beautiful day.
Yeah, same to you, Dr. Daniel, and to all of our listeners. I would like to add that fulfillment isn't just about ticking off boxes. It's about living authentically and creating harmony in every aspect of our life. So, if you are ready to break through your own success barriers, check out the transformative work Dr. Daniel is doing at Peak Growth Center. We'll have all the details mentioned in the show notes for all of you listeners. And thank you to everyone for tuning into the Mindful Living podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Until next time, stay mindful, stay inspired, and keep living your best life. Thank you.
Thank you very much.